Heyo Rad-poles, back at it again with another Speedpaint video. This time we're going to be doing a sort of style challenge, if you will. Emphasis on challenge, because my god, was it a journey. Or should I say, a trek, as in Star Trek. Get used to that, because I will be making a bunch of terrible puns this video. Hey, side challenge, can you guess how many terrible puns I'm going to make? I'll add a counter. Pertaining to Star Trek, of course, because that's my star field of expertise. Anyway, has anybody ever heard of Leyendecker? You know, J.C. Leyendecker, this pretty amazing dude with phenomenal art. I recently got one of his art books from my local bookstore, and oh my god, which let me tell you, the procurement of this book was a journey in itself. A trek. I'm not going to count that one because I already used that joke. It just seemed never to be in stock, which, I mean, given how gorgeous this book is, I don't blame them at all, but it's almost like, I want it for my shelf, so everybody else needs to stop? Months of checking, and I mean months, but I finally have it in my grubby little hands, and let me tell you, totally worth the wait. So, I was super inspired by this picture specifically, and I immediately thought, oh yeah, that's Captain Kirk. That's the captainest of Captain Kirks if I've ever seen a Kirk captain, which I have. For those of you that don't know, I am a, how do I say this subtly and not sound like a total dweeb? I'm a set phasers to stunning dork of the original series of Star Trek. And really, it's about a muck time I said it. The courageousness of Captain Kirk, the aptitude of his first officer, Mr. Spock, the compassion of the good old Southern Dr. McCoy, they have really shaped me into the galactic basket case I am today. But hey, they wouldn't put case in the name if my basket wasn't at least slightly contained as a passable corporeal form of this modern society. Mostly. They mostly come at night. Mostly. Anyway, it's the details of the lines that I just love about Leyendecker's work. I love line art, right? As I've told you guys before. And the way he colors is like line art, but for the shades and hues. And it's not just like charting the form like I usually use it for. It's actually like painting with lines. Wow, that sounds so stupid. Never mind. What I mean to say is like he blocks out the shapes with stark whites or more saturated versions of the color underneath it, and it does a lot to encase the different shades. It's very much like cell shading, but more painterly. It's painterly cell shading. Oh my god, this still doesn't make any sense. It's just not a way I've ever tried before. I tend to go more blendy with mine, but his is definitely a lot more set and composed, and now I'm just using words. I've never been the biggest fan of coloring, and I think it's because I just don't think I'm very good at it. I'm not fishing for compliments here, I'm just saying. But to approach it like he does, with this like blocked in and outlined form, I'm like, oh yeah, I can work with that. I could warp with that. I could warp speed ahead with that. You're welcome, there's another one. I don't know what the counter is at by this point. But are you kind of picking up what I'm trying to lay down? Like that stark whitish line that separates the cheek and the chin from the side plane of the face? My god, I have been line-decked right into the warp core of inspiration with that one. Oh god, is anyone even still listening to this? I am so sorry. I've already embarrassed myself to the final frontier and back, and it's only about 4 minutes in. Anyways, this drawing was Star Trek Beyond fun, and I'm actually amazed at how little I struggled with it. I didn't actually start uh-ohing until about the background stage. Leyendecker does pieces for like Saturday Post or advertisements, meaning the backgrounds were simple if they existed at all, as to focus on the main figure or the product that he was selling, advertising. He wasn't selling it. Well, I mean, he was technically. But the overachiever and maximalist in me wouldn't just let it go without a background. I couldn't just leave him floating in the white, open space of the void paper. So instead I made him floating in actual space. Look at me go, I'm so topical. So creative, so clever. Spock would be so proud. I tell myself in the void of my room. Ooh, here's where I'm starting to draw the tendons in his hand. That sounds so weird now. But I was having a lot of fun painting this. It was It's not something I normally paint. I don't really like to add that much detail to the hands because sometimes they can just look a little too, well, fleshy, I guess. But this one, I was just having a lot of fun adding the tendons to the knuckles and making the hand actually look tense like it's holding his arm. It's also at this point that I forgot to draw his other hand because that would make sense that he'd be holding it, but why would I do that? I'll add it in later, I promise. But it's definitely something that I kind of want to implement into some of my art moving forward. Maybe not to this degree, but it is definitely something that I've enjoyed making. Same goes for that darker, less saturated lines that I added to the outsides of the shaded shapes. I think it did a lot to make it more illustrative and painterly. I hate that word, I'm so sorry. It did a lot to add like a subtle contrast, if that's a thing that you can have, subtle contrast. I feel like those words go against each other morally and physically. The Klingons to my Kirk, if you will. I added the Enterprise behind him too, thinking that I could like line up the dish behind his head and act as some sort of halo. I'm a big fan of like old saint and religious iconography from like the Renaissance period, and they did this a lot, and I just, oh god, I love it so much, and I thought it could work really well here. It was made all that more perfect when the narsals of the ship actually lined up to make it look like he had little wings. Oh my gosh. It's too perfect, too pure, too boldly go where no one has gone before. You get it? Because it kind of rhymes. I'm going to count that one. That one counts, okay? All in all, I loved this, and I'm extremely happy with the outcome. It makes me really want to do like a triptych of the power trio in this style and have them all sort of match, you know? But we'll see. Well, I'll for sure have to do Spock. I mean, he needs to mirrorverse his Kirk, of course. Mirrorverse. God, I'm so good at this. For his, though, I think I want to give him like a gold swath of fabric instead of blue so that they're, you know, matchy-matchy, but not too matchy-matchy. Well, I'll have to do it now. There's no way I can't. Get it? It's... anyway. Wait. Hold on, I think my cat's eating something. Gravity, what are you doing? I swear to God, Gravity, if you're eating the couch foam again, you are gonna be the only tribble I have trouble with. Get over here. Stop. Why? Stop. Out of context now, I realize how weird that sounds. Gravity is my cat, by the way. I also have another cat named Bones, so if you ever hear me going that, I'm not, like, losing it. Well, I am currently sitting alone yelling at my cat for eating couch foam, so... doing fine. Thanks for asking, everybody. How's capitalism treating everybody else? Seek out new life forms and new civilizations? More like, let me sleep in and never be sought, found. This fabric seems to be coming along nicely, if I do say so myself, and I do because I'm me and I said it. One thing about Leindecker's work that I really enjoyed but never really noticed right off the bat was how he adds these like perpendicular lines of highlight. I guess they're not really highlight, they're more of just like lighter versions of the colors below it, but they make like this really interesting texture, almost like dappled light, but in a more geometric way, as if all of these figures are standing behind a window that has blinds on it, like PIs or... Nope, that's it. Apparently those are the only people that sit behind blinded windows, windows with blinds. The way that it just adds this little interest to it, I love it. You can kind of see it on Kirk's shoulder there, but you can really see it. I play it up in the blanket a lot, and it's something I've never really thought about adding, but now that I have, it's just so much fun, and now I just kind of want to add it to everything. That's totally one of the benefits of doing these kind of style challenges, is because it makes you do stuff that you wouldn't do normally. Stepping out of that bubble and all that fun stuff, I don't tend to because I'm overly self-critical and shy. And honest, look at me go. Anyway, what am I doing at this point? Oh my god, I haven't even started on the other side of the fabric yet. The fabric did take the longest in this picture. It makes sense. I mean, it is the majority of the picture. But I think it was also because I didn't quite know what I wanted to do with it. I did have the idea originally to make it like look like a star chart that he had like swathed himself in, but then decided with all the wrinkles and highlights that I had added that would make it too complicated. So didn't go with that in the end, and that's totally fine. You can change your ideas. It's great. I recommend it. Again, not something I probably would have come up with if I hadn't done this style challenge, so hey, cool. Keep it on the back burner. That's what we do. Can we take a minute to talk about that frankly beautiful turquoise color that's in there? I'm so lucky I stumbled upon that color. Well, I ended up using it pretty much everywhere because I ended up liking it so much. I put it in like a reflection on his boots since they're supposed to be more of a shiny leather, and then I also added it to the bands around his sleeves because they're also like more of a metallic finish, so I decided that it probably needed a little soft glow from the blue, and I think it did so much to add depth to that. It was looking a little flat back where the blacks are because I couldn't quite see what the wrinkles should be doing. Those little additions of color really did a lot, I think, to clean up that area and make it more obvious what was happening. I'd call that a Romu win, if nothing else. Haha, there's another one, yay! All that was left was just to add the really dark blues into the deepest creases of that blanket, fabric, swath. And it did a lot to, again, clean up that area and make it more obvious what was happening. You know, when you add a lot of the same color into one spot, it kind of looks the same. Strange how that works. All that was left to do was the background. I wanted to keep it kind of simple. I mean, most of Leindecker's work, like I said, he doesn't really do backgrounds, and so when he does, they're much more simple. So I was trying my best to keep it simple. I have a problem with that. I usually have a tendency to overcomplicate and wanting to embellish, so it took a lot, and the way that I made myself do it was I allowed it on pretty much the middle bits and nothing else. So the scroll I went ham on like hardcore, and that's totally fine in my book, but for the Enterprise itself, I kept that one much more flat shaded, and even when I get to coloring space, I didn't do as much detail as I probably would have if it was more of a my style piece. That isn't to say I actually really like how it turned out, so gotta hand it to Leindecker. It's almost like he knows what he's doing as a professional artist. Man, that must be nice. I also got kind of lazy at this point. I guess it's not lazy. I used the tools that I have at hand. Once I drew this one scroll, I didn't want to draw it again, so I copied and pasted. I know, I'm a genius. You can all praise me more. Alright, looks like we're getting into the final stretch here, or the final frontier, if you will. Yeah, I'm not gonna apologize for these things. I think I'm doing a really good job. Let me continue to cling on to what little ego I have, thank you. A few more lines here, a little more cross-hatching the neutral zone there. And we're almost about done. What is it about coloring metal that's just so therapeutic? Hippy hoppy, let me paste that copy. Beautiful. This challenge did a lot to reignite my want to experiment. It's been a long time since I actually just sat down and tried new things, and really I think doing this style challenge helped me achieve that. And I found actually a lot of stylistic things that I feel like I can implement, and I really enjoyed doing them. Kind of brings that spark back, you know? It's about time to make that nebula a little less nebula, with some stars and some glowy bits and a bit more texture. Beaming our captain back into place there, he looks at home in that field of stars. All that's left is to decloak that Enterprise in the background. You thought the Romulans were the only one with a cloaking device. They've never heard of layers. And with that, all done. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate you sticking through the terrible puns. Again, not going to apologize. I'm very proud of some of the ones I came up with. Thank you all for watching. Live long and prosper. Bye.